put the damn work in, guys. And that really is the first step.
Part of being the best lawyer is knowing who are the best lawyers.
One of the things that I absolutely love about personal injury, we get to represent the powerless against the powerful.
The only place success comes before work is in a dictionary. You got to work your ass off every single day.
Exciting one today. Today we're joined by Josh Palmer, a powerhouse advocate for the underserved in personal injury law. Born in Macon, raised in Warner Robins, Josh has built an extraordinary career marked by high-stakes cases and landmark results. Josh, welcome to Innovators and Litigators.
I appreciate you, man. Good to be here. Blessed to be here. I'm with the biggest in the game. So, Mama, I made it. I'm with Big Nick, baby. I made it.
We did it, boys. So, actually, in many ways, you're kind of who I want to be when I grow up. So, I don't know if you know my past, but I trained as an actor in New York, and I wanted to touch in kind of entertainment law and the celebrity space, and it sounds like you've done at least somewhat of that. So, kind of tell the audience what you did and how you came up.
I did a little bit of entertainment. I did not like it because working with celebrities, they have all those egos, and you gotta chase them around and do all that. And so with entertainment, that is not for me at all. But I love personal injury because I'm a people person. I'm a country boy. I'm down to earth. So I just like to be with the people. I like to talk to the people and, just be there,
Yeah, take care of the powerless. I talk about that a lot.
Definitely.
Kind of walk me through, I think your parents, at least one of your parents was a doctor?
Yeah. So
they kind of push you towards that, or how did that start?
Yeah, so my dad's a doctor down in Warner Robins. He has he does family practice, and going to school, I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to follow into his footsteps because I love the respect that he got for helping people. I wanted to help people, and he goes around, and he's the person they go to when they need something. So I wanted to follow into his footsteps. So when I went to college, I started pre-med. But then when I got to those science classes, I know here when I got to those chemistries and those physics, I was like, nah, that ain't
remember
for me.
It well.
Yeah, we had one teacher. They wanted you to come in on the weekends and look at the plants and stuff like that. I'm like, I'm trying to throw a party. Yeah, so after that, I switched to criminal justice, and I was like, okay, I want to be something professional. I want to help people. I want to make a name for myself. I want to leave a legacy for my family and for the people coming up after me. So that's when I decided to, switch over to law.
I try to explain this a lot because when they see people at a certain level of success, and I remember looking back and studying my butt off and kind of not really knowing what I was going to do. A lot of people always want me to tell this story where it's just like, you knew you were going to be a lawyer when you were 3 years old, right? I was like, no, I did not. Absolutely not. Yeah. I had no idea. I was just kind of following those things. So when did you kind of first start making that gravitation? And then when did you really feel like you figured it out? Like, this is what I want. This is special.
Well, switching over, I was like, okay, it's going to be either it's not going to be a doctor, so it's going to be a lawyer. But going into personal injury, I'm a person that does law of attraction and read all those books, and so I was a motivational speaker in college, before everybody was doing all these videos about positive thinking and all that. So I went and I was doing that, and then eventually I attracted is a lawyer named Willie Gary. And Willie Gary, he's a country boy like me. He's Southern twang. He's from my dad from in South Florida. And then he came down to Fort Valley to speak. And eventually after that, we end up get him to our house. And he was teaching me, the game. And I wanted to be like him because growing up, in my culture, and all we had to do was look up to the rappers and athletes and the drug dealers that was living that life. But, they weren't really living that life. They was portraying. But Willie Gary, he had the 2 jets, and he had the mansion and the Rolls Royce, and he was living like the rappers that they were portraying. So I was like, I want to be like him. He's just like me. He's country. I'm not as polished. I'm a little bit crazy, and he was just like me. And I was like, okay, I want to do personal injury like him. I want to be like him. I want to aspire to youth like him. So that's what really got me into wanting to focus on personal injury, meeting that guy right there.
This is what I want to talk about. I love this. So let's stick with Willie Gray. So people, this is what I talk about, Instagram in real life.
Yeah.
And people ask all the time, like, how are people doing this, and how people have this lifestyle and things like that. One, it's often fake.
Right.
It's just completely rented,
Yeah.
or they have sets that look like jets.
Right.
And then two people are just up to their eyeballs in debt.
Right. Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that's how they'd even fake that.
Yeah,
So,
I have the rappers rented out my house and cars and all that stuff to shoot their videos.
Right.
So yeah.
yeah. I mean, this is why I do this.
Right.
Is that there's this immense lies that people just get buried in.
Right.
And so kind of talk about working with him actually doing something like that. People are actually doing it, have built this, versus what other people look up to. These people, these quick,
Yeah.
tomorrow rich type of stuff.
It's the internet is fake, guys. I don't know what to tell you. The internet is fake. So don't believe what you see on the internet. And there's a couple people doing it big, like my boy Nick. So with the personal injury lawyers, I seen that the biggest in the game were the personal injury lawyers. There's a lot of lawyers out here. Just because you're a personal injury lawyer, you're not doing it big. It's certain people out here that's doing it, and they have a certain mindset. They have a certain drive. So when you meet people like that has that drive, that work ethic, that mindset, those are gonna be the biggest. And not just in law, whatever you do, it's gonna be the ones up here and the ones out there. And it's about your work ethic and your mindset. So that's pretty much it with it. You gotta, everybody out here faking and everybody out here doing it, but you just gotta stay true to you.
Yeah. We're all faking it in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
and even now, if you're practicing law correctly in medicine,
right,
you're still figuring this out.
Yeah.
I mean, we're figure results.
Right.
In the Court of Appeals, and we're still like, man, we hope we don't screw something up.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
Everybody thinks like we've just got to figure it out.
Yeah.
But I'm constantly talking to my peers. I'm constantly saying, well, how do we do this? Making new law. It's terrifying.
Right.
And so people who are willing to show up, I talk about all the time, consistency over motivation.
Yeah.
You can be motivated for a week.
Right.
Lose a couple pounds. That's
Yeah.
real easy.
Yeah.
But showing up every day, like, how did you kind of transition from kind of the country boy, new to this, to doing what you're doing now? You're doing big things now, man.
Yeah, just going hard. I don't really have too much of a formula. I just dream big.
Give them something.
Okay, so I just my thing is dream big, work hard, and protect your dream. Coming up, it's gonna be people that say, you can't do this. You're not smart enough. You're not fast enough. You're from the hood. You're not gonna make it out the hood. And you got to dream big. If you want to really make it. So number one, dream big, shoot for the stars, have unrealistic expectations of where you want to be. And then the second thing is work hard. I always say the only place success comes before work is in a dictionary. You gotta work your ass off every single day. You gotta put those, whether you want to be an athlete, you gotta practice every single day. If you want to be a artist, you gotta be in the studio every single day. If you want to be the best lawyer, you gotta protect your craft every single day. And then the last thing is protect your dream. And it's just, they're gonna doubt you. They're gonna say you can't do it, but you just gotta like, okay, why not me? All these other people didn't make it. Why not me? I'm gonna make it because these people over here made it. I'm gonna be over here with them.
Okay. Something I'm speaking at the bar scene about growing firms, and I'm writing up like what I'm going to talk about, and it almost feels elementary. It almost feels like duh.
Yeah.
But when I look back, like my first tip is just like get really good at being a lawyer.
Yeah.
Like, work really hard at the fundamentals.
Yeah.
And so many people kind of skip that step.
Right.
There's like, well, how do I get attention? How do I get clients? How do I do certain things? But that falls through real quick when you're just terrible at what you do.
Right.
And so put the damn work in, guys. Saying it.
Yeah.
And that really is the first step. And then my second advice for people typically is to keep it cheap.
Right.
Like people see what we're doing now,
Yeah.
and they're just like, well, this is how you do it. Get a bunch of offices,
Yeah.
get a bunch of people, and that's the worst thing you can do.
Right.
So like, what was the kind of beginning of your firm, and what made you kind of want to do it yourself as opposed to working for somebody else?
Yeah. So when I came out of law school, I knew that eventually I wanted to own my own firm. So I went to work for a volume firm. And for those who don't know what volume firm is, it's one of those firms that do a lot of advertising. They have too many cases that they can't take care of. And they barely pay me anything. I wasn't getting paid anything. But
I was making $38 a year out of law school. Don't let people lie to you guys.
Hey, yeah, I came in my interview. I was like, I wanted $100,000 for my. It's like, okay, we're gonna give you this. I was like, all right, I'll take it. But I knew that eventually I wanted to own my firm, and I wanted to see as many cases as possible because you gotta learn first. You gotta get good first. So working at the volume firm, I seen everything, and I can make mistakes on their dime. And you don't know what you don't know. So so I went in, worked my ass off, and then after a year that I felt comfortable, then I went on my own. And like you said, the first thing is...
Yours quick. Yours brave.
Yeah.
Took me 4.
Well, actually, I got fired.
This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I got fired.
Our vice president got fired from his last job.
Yeah. So after a year, we had our end of year meeting, and I felt like I was the best there because I was outselling everybody. When they came in, they wanted to see Palmer. I was kind of like taking over, and then so I thought I was gonna get promoted at the end of the year meeting, and then after that I found out I got let go. But it was a blessing in disguise because
Did they say why?
They said we have different styles, whatever that means.
I was told by my the law firm I worked at 3 months out.
Yeah.
It was Wilson Estates. I hated it.
Yeah.
That maybe law wasn't for me, and I was like, wow. Estate law was not for me. 100%.
Right.
That was true. That was 100% true. That was fair.
Yeah.
And then the firm that I worked at for 4 years before I went out,
Right.
I was told all the time, like, I would miss like commas, or like, I'm not a big detail guy.
Right,
That's
yeah.
and so I would just miss some minor editing things. Like, you're just a bad lawyer, Nick. You're just a bad lawyer.
Right.
No good
Yeah.
lawyer would do this.
Yeah.
So like, I want to tell people these stories. Like, people need to hear that.
Right. Yeah.
Some of the most successful, you just need to get kicked.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, it was. We have different styles, whatever that means. I don't know what that means. So, but I already had my LLC up there. I think they kind of found out that I had my LLC, and I was kind of, so they was like, okay, let's get them up out of here.
Wrap it up.
Yeah, but it was a blessing in disguise. When I was there, making barely any money, I was saving up. I moved back into my parents' house, because I couldn't afford rent.
Listen to that.
Yeah.
Listen to that.
I couldn't afford rent, and then so my office was up in my parents' attic. I just had a table. I had my MacBook. I had a computer chair, and went to Fiverr, made a website for like $100. Had my case system up, and then took some pictures, put my website up, and just started getting it. And then eventually just slowly bringing in clients and just slowly growing, and perfecting my craft, getting good.
This is real practice. And that's what I'm trying to tell people, is that I had a digital office. I was working out of my house. My son was 3 months old. That's real building something. That's real growing something. And I can say this to you now as you're successful, but a lot of people, it's like, you were kind of a loser at that time. A lot of people have been like, look at you. You got fired. Yeah. You're living with your parents. The hell are you doing? Like, good luck. And you're going to try to do it yourself?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Definitely.
Like, what made you push through that?
Yeah. Well, I always just had confidence, like, yeah, so,
Power delusion.
Yeah. My parents, like, when I got fired, my parents, we know this person, you can work here, or, some of the other lawyers, they hit me up, you need it. I'm like, nah, I got this, man. Like, it's me, baby. I'm the biggest, baby. and I already had the confidence because, working at the other firm, I was the best, baby.
Yeah.
So, the power of delusion, people will be like, okay, he's not doing it. He's not doing this. I'm like, I'm in my mind, I was already looking 5 years ahead. I'm already looking to what I'm going to be. I wasn't in that space. I wasn't in that space of, I'm in my parents' attic and, I don't have anything, and I'm looking ahead.
So that wasn't you didn't feel shook by that?
I didn't feel shook at all.
Yeah.
It's just, whatever I do, I'm like, I might be a little bit weird, but I'm like super positive. I always look at the the good and the bad. I'm always smiling.
Yeah.
I'm just always happy. I know that I don't know if I'm a little crazy, but
I think we all are.
Yeah, but I'm like when something bad happens, might be sad for like a day or so, but after that, I'm back to myself. I'm back to my delusional self, and just looking forward to being number one.
None of us got this figured out, and I love that. I love that. I think that's really the difference. Is a lot of our guests we talk to is like, well, in that trench, how do you even pull yourself out of that? I graduated top of my class, and I was like, I just want to make 70 a year. I was making 60, 65 a year bartending. I was like, I got $250,000 in debt. I was like, okay, as long as I make 70, my first, like at least I'm like moving forward, right?
Yeah.
And then when I couldn't find a job, and then I took a job at 38, I was like, that should have crushed me, man. Oh, the math is just screwed forever. Like you're just never getting out of this trench, man. You just never are. And when people are like, well, why didn't you kind of give up? It's like, well, I'm here. What do you mean? Like if there was no rewind button, it's not like I'd be like, I'll just go back and not do that. Like we're here. This is where we are.
Yeah, and yours is a little bit tougher because you had your family and you was working for a little bit. Mine wasn't that tough because I was already broke. I didn't have no money anyway, so if I was like, if I fail, I can go get a job, but I didn't have no money anyway.
There's a superpower to that.
So I was like, I'm already broke, might as well take a risk.
How was the transition for you between working for somebody else and doing it yourself? Because it's such a completely different skill set that law school kind of disincentivizes. Yeah. They really don't teach you anything.
Right.
Managing a trust account? What does that mean?
Yeah, so it's different, but when I first came in, I did everything. So with the other firm, I started off as the receptionist. I was over there doing the receptionist, and then I moved to intake, and then I moved to paralegal stuff, case manager stuff, then the lawyer stuff. So, I kind of did everything in pieces, but when you on your own, you got to do everything.
Correct.
Now you're everything at once. So, they calling in on the receptionist, on the intake, medical records requests. And then, it's a whole nother side of, being a lawyer and a businessman. Because, you got to get your LLCs up, trust accounts, make sure that's balanced, make sure that, your staff is paid on time, make sure that they're happy and doing what they need to do, managing people. So marketing, so it's
not for everyone.
It's two sides of, running your law firm, being a lawyer. And first you got to be great at that, and then growing your firm, and, that's the part everybody trying to figure out. Everything's always changing, but it's it's a little bit tough. But once you get into it, it's kind of like second nature. It's your life. I know it's your lifestyle.
Yeah.
We can't really turn it off. On a vacation, we might still take our calls and our meetings. You can't really turn it off. So it kind of, once you get into it, it kind of becomes a lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest mistakes I made early on, I didn't get any help. So it was just me for the first 6 months. And even then, I only hired a part-time paralegal for like the first year and a half. I was smart to keep things small at least.
Right.
But any big mistakes, you look back, you'd be like, man, do this earlier or do this later. I know I bought a billboard way too early. I was like, no one knows who the hell you are. Like,
right.
What are you doing?
No, that's smart though, because they're going to see it, I didn't really make too many mistakes early on because I made all my mistakes that year. I made a bunch of mistakes at their firm, so I made the mistakes on their dime, and then I kind of just grew slowly. It was me for like the first year, and then I just saved my money, and then I hired my sister. She's a lawyer. She was taking a bar. I hired her, and then had her do the case manager stuff. So we kind of grew slowly, and then if the case were too big, I just refer it out.
Love this.
Yeah.
I love this.
Right. Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah.
I handled I had Susan on, and I got this just immense case, and I know I'm a damn good lawyer,
right?
But this was against a giant hospital, and my client will never recover from it. And so there's a lot of ego advice for you guys out there, that I can do this, I can handle this,
yeah.
And I probably could have,
right.
but there's immense expense. It was hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And, the defense, there's a singular attorney, and that's all he does, and he's fantastic at
Right.
it. And he's the guy that gets hired for hospital defense.
Yeah.
So he's done it 2,000 times. This is the same type of case, same type of defendants, the same type of plaintiffs.
Yeah.
And you're going to go in day one, never touching this type
Right.
of case, and go, I got it.
Yeah.
And I think that's ego. I think that's putting yourself before a client.
Right.
Because they're too afraid to share a fee.
Yep.
And, our first duty is to our clients. And when cases are too expensive, too complex, too time consuming, who knows
Right.
what? We spent thousands of hours on that case,
Yep.
flew all around the country with experts. I put my ego aside. I said, I'm gonna bust my ass on this case. I worked really hard on that case and luckily changed the client's life.
Yeah.
But I had somebody who did hospital defense for 20 years.
Right. Part of being the best lawyer is knowing who are the best lawyers, right? I look at it like this, you're on the playground and it's a fight, right? You probably can beat this kid up. But then sometimes a bigger kid comes and then, you might can do good, but guess what? I'm calling my brother Nick.
Right.
Yeah, and we gonna jump you.
Right.
And then y'all call some more. All right, Nick, here on back.
We're
gonna jump him with a back. So is car accidents and truck accidents, yeah, I can handle those all day. But when it comes to like medical malpractice and nursing home abuse or things that are getting technical, I'm calling in the experts and we're gonna jump you.
Yeah.
I'm actually suing a different country right now.
Wow.
And I don't know anything about suing a different country, and I don't even I got some boys out of New York that's on it with me, and they know about it. So
You want an attorney that builds a team,
Right.
and then not everybody can be a specialist at everything. And then we talk about the specialty of that. So I want to talk about the kind of diversity of cases that you've handled, because
Yeah.
you've handled some really cool cases.
yeah, we were on the front lines of the Black Lives Matter movement, working with the George Floyd case and the Ahmaud Arbery case and, all those cases around that time. That was very tough because, you're getting death threats and, you got to have security around. And I did a lot of nightclub shootings, apartment complex shootings, and that kind of became my specialty because it's happening to my people a lot in, Middle Georgia, Macon, and Atlanta, and, it's through negligent security and a lot of people to get their guns into the clubs and things happen. Also, sexual assault cases with businesses, nightclubs, apartments, whole 9 yards, just different stuff.
Takes
Yeah.
bravery.
Yeah.
Talk about the kind of intricacies when it comes to that. I mean, a lot of times you're going up against governmental agencies.
Yeah.
And
With the new laws, I know we hate these in
Tort
Georgia. Tort reform.
if you can call
You guys vote.
Insurance protection. Act
Insurance
is what-
protection. You guys vote because they just made it a lot harder to, hold these clubs accountable when somebody gets, shot or killed or sexually assaulted in these places of businesses. So, in the next couple of years, you're going to see it a lot more. You're going to see a lot of our people dying. You're going to see a lot of people getting injured. You're going to see a lot of people getting assaulted because with these new laws, they made it really tough to
Almost impossible.
But, the gist of it is, you look at the club and they need to have proper security. And they didn't have proper security. You look and see if it was a, dangerous environment. If it was like a safe club and nothing ever happened, then okay, nothing's there. But if it's like club that, somebody's getting shot and stabbed every week, then, that's a case. And you look at security and the damages and, you go from there.
It was terrifying. So I was in the Capitol. I was actively lobbying, and I remember speaking to my representatives, and it was explaining to them the implications of this and the danger, and
Right.
essentially putting out-of-state landlords and the absolute wealthiest people who arguably benefit from this violence happening.
Yeah.
Not putting in sufficient measures to protect people, and I just fell on complete deaf ears. I
Right.
just heard them say, well, if it's that bad, we'll figure it out in a few years. Like, how many people are going to die in
Right.
those few years
Yeah.
while you figure it out?
Yeah, there's no incentives to, check people at the door. There's no incentives to make the the security gates work, or how security around the area, period, or just make the place safe. Is
How terrifying is that? And
it's
it
scary.
scared me.
Yeah.
Because I was waiting for them to have some counter argument. What I was
Right.
saying, like, well, these are the things we weigh. Or it was just like,
Right.
a few hundred people die, we'll
Yeah.
figure it out. And
Yeah.
it was terrifying.
Right.
Your votes matter.
Yeah.
Show up. One of the things that I absolutely love about personal injury, and personal injury for many people have a stigma. I know in law school I had a negative view of personal injury, but we get to represent the powerless against the powerful.
Right.
And that's exciting. And so, like, what is it about PI that kind of drew you to it, and what you enjoy about it?
I like fighting, and I
Let's
like representing the people. And so with personal injury, you can get the best lawyer. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. With like criminal, the best lawyers you might have, but you can't afford them.
Right.
But
You
with
gotta be Diddy.
yeah,
Gotta be where the billing knows.
yeah. But yeah, with personal injury, you can get me or Nick, and most of my clients are lower to middle class.
Might as well.
And I wanted to be able to take care of my people. I wanted to be a champion for my people. I wanted to fight for my people, and I wanted to make the world a safer place. And I started pre-law, and my dad's a doctor, so personal injury is still kind of helping people, right? Our goal is to get them the best treatment, the best doctors. We're getting them money in their pocket so they can get back to living their regular lives. I like helping people, and I want to help everybody, whether you're rich or poor, white, black, anything. I just want to be somebody that's out here fighting. I want to be somebody that's out here helping people, and I think that's my purpose in life, to help people.
I truly believe I was meant to do this.
Yeah.
This was my calling. But it's very specific, and I want to see kind of your opinion on this. So I thought, well, if I just become a lawyer, then I'll be set. And then I didn't really like being a trust attorney. And I was like, oh, maybe I'm not supposed to be a lawyer.
Yeah.
And then I got into personal injury, and I worked for somebody else, and we kind of did their thing, but I wasn't a big fan of the way they ran things. And I was like, maybe this isn't great either.
Right.
And so a lot of people kind of given up on that. And then finally, when I did it myself, I was like, oh, here it is. Like, this is it.
Right, yeah.
So when did you really get like, this is what I was born to do?
I tried different things. I tried criminal law, and the criminal justice is just not fair. Like, you can have all this evidence that you're innocent, and then they be like, okay, plead out. And I'll be in contempt every day, fighting with the judge. Like, what do you mean? And then,
Good.
family law, it's really kind of messy and all
Really
that.
messy.
Yeah,
Most
really
dangerous law of practice, by the way.
Right, yeah. Yeah, it's messy. You got to
Most violence against lawyers is
Oh, really?
by far.
Oh, I can imagine.
I've sponsored gun training for
Oh,
family
wow.
lawyers because
Yeah. So, yeah.
people get crazy, man.
Yeah.
They feel like you stole their kids.
Right. With personal injury, I don't know. I fell in love with it when I gave my first client their check, and seeing the smile on their face, and the energy that they had, and it kind of I don't know if it was life changing money, but it felt like it was life changing to them, and I wanted to. I wanted to get that feeling all the time of helping people, of getting that energy, of getting that joy of, when things are going bad, they think everything is lost. They think everything is gonna go downhill, and I want to be that person that be like, okay, we're gonna move up. Something bad happened, but I'm here for you, and I want you to move up. And then after the case is over, I want you to still have a different mindset of winning big and living a better life.
Pain empowers us to become our highest self. There's an example of your clients kind of turning pain into growth.
You got to go through things to be better. I'll give you an example of when I was taking the bar. First of all, Nick, tell them about the bar. Tell them how hard the bar is.
It's funny. I struggled horrifically on the LSAT. LSAT killed me. The bar is very intense, and they make it that way.
Right.
It's
yeah.
multi-day. They string it out. They stick you in a warehouse. They take away everything that you have. Really, just a very odd way.
Yeah.
To kind of show what you're
Right.
doing. It's
Yeah,
kind of
and
this
then-
test taker mentality.
Yeah.
It's not really what you know. It's can you prove it in this
Right,
octagon that we
yeah.
stick you in.
Yeah, so the bar is so
Fuck.
crazy. You got to study like how many hours? Like
Months. Yeah.
12, 15 hours a day for months. So, you know, I took the bar. I thought I did good. And how many months we got to wait? Like 2-3 months?
3.
4. Yeah, 3.
3.5, yeah.
3 months to get your results back. So I got my results back,
This is insane.
and they said you failed by 1 point. I was that kind of crushed me. That
was
kind of got me
shatter, man.
down. And I was, that's when people really, thought I was a failure, and people was calling, "Oh, you should have studied hard." I'm like, y'all
People
don't
said
know.
that to you?
Yeah,
No
like,
way.
I'm like, y'all don't even know what's going on,
No
man.
way.
Y'all don't even know what's going on. But
As they're
yeah,
frying fish. And,
right. Yeah.
what do you know about that?
But yeah. So, I was down for like week, whatever. But then I was like, fuck it, let's get back into it. And I studied harder. Like, they was waiting on me. Sometimes I was up 2 days in a row. I was looking homeless. I was in there in the trenches. So, I took it again, and then I passed. I passed high enough to wave into DC and all that. And then,
Hold on.
after I started practicing, they sent me an email that said, "Hold up, you actually passed the first time." I was like, "What, man?" I think I was doing the deposition at the time. I had to do it over because I
wouldn't even want to know at that point. Like, why are you even telling me now? What the hell?
And then, they didn't even do anything. Like, It's just, oh, my bad. I just got an email with my bad. You
And it's
passed first time.
expensive. I mean, the immense amount of loss from that. The time you
Yeah.
could have, the cost of the
Right.
second exam.
Right. But then right now I see the good in things because I did have a job lined up, and I feel like with that job that I probably would have been comfortable, and I probably been comfortable working for them, and I probably would have worked for them for a long time versus the path of
So
they
turned.
the job was gone.
revoked.
The job was gone. The job was gone.
He's got some actual loss.
Yeah, the
Sue
job was
bar, man.
gone. And then, I had to look elsewhere, and everybody was turning me down, and so I ended up that place that I got fired after 1 year, and that path led me to where I'm at right now. So, it was a bad situation. Wasted a year of my life, but I don't know if I would have been here where I'm at as fast as possible. So, I look at the good and the bad.
This shows the light that you bring, because I would have been furious.
Yeah.
I mean, furious.
No,
Literally,
yeah.
you lost a year of your life.
Yeah.
One of my favorite sayings is friction creates greatness.
Yeah.
And you talked about just if you're just comfortable enough. I
Right.
think that's where the vast majority of people kind of lose their
Right.
chance at greatness. Is there's like,
Yeah.
I can afford my,
Yeah.
I can afford my Applebee's, and
Right, yeah.
Well, I try for anything harder than that. But if not for that path shift,
Right.
you might not have ever reached this.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a perspective that most people don't have.
Right.
And I want to hammer that with people.
Yeah.
Like, what a great way to look at the world.
I look.
That would've been so bad.
I'm crazy.
No, give me every one of their names.
Right. Exactly. I just look at the good and every bad, and I just try to find a good. I know my wife be mad sometimes because I'm always smiling like something happened, or I'll smiling like she upset about I'm smiling, but I just have a permanent smile.
You do.
Yeah.
I talk about that. You called me recently.
Yeah,
I always tell you smile.
I'm smiling. Sometimes hit that switch like when they when we get in the courtroom and they want to play with you. Then it's like, okay, I'm gonna hit that switch and just don't try my gangster.
I'm nice till it can.
Yeah,
till
then
it can't be.
we're gonna get serious. We're gonna take the gloves off. But then after that, then after I'm out of that zone, then I switch back again.
I've only ever had one criminal trial,
Mm.
And it was for a client that they cited her for something she didn't do anything wrong,
Right.
and it was hurting her personal injury case. So I was like, I'll handle your citation for free. And I brought all these witnesses. I mean, like, I had a pile of people.
Yeah.
And they had a bunch of unrepresented people there. And I was like, okay, I'm sure they're going to dismiss it. I'm the only one with a lawyer. I'm the only one. I have witnesses. And the defense attorney, the prosecutor was so confident some civil lawyer coming in, you know.
Right.
And so she was like, cop's here, we'll try it.
Yeah.
Even though I showed her a mountain of evidence. And I was like, wow, okay. So I was like, okay, I guess we're going to try this thing.
Right, yeah.
And so when we finished it, this is about, you being mean until you can't,
Right, yeah.
unless you're forced to be. And second I finished closing, she was like, not guilty. And I walked up to the prosecutor and I was like,
Yeah.
great meeting you.
Right, yeah. Cause it'd be like, like we'd be the churches, mediation or something like that. It'd be a whole different person. And then when afterwards, I'm back cool. They were like,
Great meeting.
They were like, damn, who was that?
And that's actually something I noticed. I call it the paper tiger.
Yeah.
Is the people that are the most angry, the most vindictive, the most scary trying to be outside of a courtroom are usually the worst lawyers.
Right.
Worst lawyers.
Yeah.
And some of the best lawyers I've ever met are the kindest.
Yeah.
Nice to see you. I've literally had them stop depositions and say, anything else you need me to ask for the adjuster?
Right.
Just like really good. But second year in the courtroom, I'm like,
Right.
whoop.
Yeah.
And it's scary. They know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah.
And there's a power to that.
Yeah. We got that. I call it a switch. We got that switch. Yeah.
Stop pretending.
Yeah.
I'm not scared of bluster lawyers at all.
Right. Yeah.
When we were handling that medical malpractice case, there was the named partner, and then they had like this junior partner on the case. And we're mediating the case, like we're trying to get settled. Again, when you're in mediation, stop at the bluster, guys. That's for trial. Do the bluster at trial. And I've got this, and my client's severely brain injured. Her dying mother's in the room with cancer. And the brilliant lawyer's sitting there going, we're mortified this happened. We want to do what's right. Like, just like really like making everyone feel like and this is a guy's been doing it 30, 40 years. Mm-hmm. And then his junior partner gets up and he puts up this, PowerPoint and saying this 35-year-old doctor is going to kick your ass at trial. And just the air just got sucked out of the room. Mm-hmm. And just everyone was just like, man, we're done. And
trying my gangster. All right, we'll see you in court. Gloves off.
And Larry, the second I just saw my client deflate, and I was just like, it was over. It was over the second.
Gloves off, baby.
Right. And they end up paying 5 times that, 5 days before trial. So, yeah.
My boy. Hey, you take them gloves off. Like, we keep the gloves on and keep it a boxing match. Or we can make it a street fight. What do you want to do? We can do it the easy way or the hard way. What do you want to do? We ready.
Right. Man, I ain't scared of you at mediation. Get out of here.
Come on now.
That's what I talk about with people. Like, pay attention.
Yeah.
So you've been doing motivational speaking. Have you spoken at Clark Atlanta?
Yeah, I spoke everywhere.
Yeah. Kind of walk through. Why is that important to you?
Yeah, I like to speak to the law students, and I like to, show them somebody that's like me. I'm a little bit crazy. I'm not as polished. I'm a country boy. So it's different sides of the stereotypical lawyer, because with they only see the lawyers that's on TV and they're just all stuffy and like, no, you can be yourself. You can be anybody as long as you have that drive and you have that will to want to win and want to help people. It doesn't matter your background. It doesn't matter where you come from. And then I do like to speak to the young black future lawyers, because it's not many of us out here. In Atlanta, it seems like there's a lot of us out here, but you go to the rest of the world. Sometimes when we go to the conferences, it's only me or one or two others in the room. So I want them to know that we need more black representation and that you can do it. And I want to tell the path. Here's how I did it. I'm not the traditional stuffy or the stereotypical of what they want to do, but if I can do it, you can do it. It's me. If I can do it, you can do it. I'm crazy. All right, but I just want to show them that they can do it.
Authenticity is important.
Yeah.
And so, for those of you who've never tried a case, I had never tried a jury trial first chair until I started my own firm, and I was dedicated to that. I was like, I need to be good at this.
Right.
One of my favorite things to ask potential clients is say, the lawyer you're considering, what happens when they say no? And you have to be prepared for that. And I think you've talked a few times about all cases should settle if everyone's being reasonable, but a lot of times they're not reasonable.
Right. Yeah.
And so you have to be prepared for that. And when I first started trying cases, I was trying to follow an archetype. What does a good lawyer look like?
Right.
How do you do this? It was
Yeah.
very rigid. It was very
Right.
reading from a script,
Yeah.
terrified from behind my podium. And then I realized that juries can tell real quick
Right.
who's being real, who's being
Yeah.
authentic, who's being themselves. And it seems like, why isn't authenticity important to you?
Yeah, like you said, they can read it. Like, people like to be real. They like to feel real. And then also in the courtroom, it's so boring, like the technical stuff and this and that. And
The
you
elements of negligence are as follows.
yeah. Like, it depend on the jury. Like if it's like older white ladies, I might bring Nick in, or but it's like, I'm from Atlanta with my people, I might be a little bit more myself, and have a little bit more upbeat, up heart,
Right.
and it's boring. They don't want to hear all these legalese, and they, other person over there just you can fall asleep, but you come in there, you can't get too rowdy, but they want the real. They want
Juries smell bullshit.
Yeah.
They do.
So
And I've seen, you can tell a lot of lawyers when you try enough cases against them, they have a script. They have very specific things they say.
Right.
And I love sports. And, I can talk about sports metaphors all day long, but I've seen the other lawyers that love it, and they're a room full of, 70-year-old women,
Yeah.
and they're doing sports analogies. And
right,
they're
yeah. You got to
Like,
play
what
with
are you doing?
you got to play with your jury. Like if it's like older ladies and this
I'm
and
not
that, or
moved
if
by
it's like
that.
a,
What are you
it's different strategy too. Because sometimes you might want to bring a woman on there. Sometimes you want as your co-counselor, you might want to bring this person as your co-counselor. Just depending on your jury, and they might not even do that. Just have them sit there. It's
Speak to your
little
audience.
mind games.
Right.
I know. One of the lawyers I was working with when I first came in, I was going in court with him, and then he gave me a wedding ring. I was like, "What, you proposing to me?" He was like, "No, they'll trust you better with a wedding ring." I
Wow.
was like, "What?" Yeah. So just little stuff like that. I didn't,
They pay attention.
yeah. It's like little stuff, like sometimes the case is on the merit, but then that extra implement, it might be just
I got a great story for that.
yeah.
So the first time I ever got excess judgment is DeKalb County in front of Judge Lopez. And I'm going to see him soon. And the defense's argument was, we're so sorry, let's just be reasonable, which actually can be very effective.
Right.
And they had a PowerPoint up, and they had my client's name incorrect. They had him like Paul instead of George or something like that. And the client's wife hits me in the back of the head.
Yeah.
I'm like, she's like, you have his name wrong. That's terrific. And so they finished this thing. Like, I hope you paid real close attention to these people that tell you they care so much about Paul or whatever his name.
Yeah, got him.
Yeah.
Got him.
And the jury hated it. The jury was furious.
Yeah.
And that paralegal lost their job or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It just be like little stuff like that can change it.
Like,
from
where do you recover from that? Like,
right. Yep. Yeah.
I'm sure Paul's doing fine.
Right.
So what I usually end with, and kind of the concepts that I come up with, is every single person I've asked this question who gives a different answer, and I think it's important to ask you it. Okay. You're still young, you still got plenty to go when it comes to that. But kind of what legacy do you want to leave? Like, what's the end goal for you when it comes to doing what you're doing?
I just want to be the best. I feel like I feel like lawyers like me and you, I say that's in the game. I use a boxing analogy that, it's some people that's going to be on the undercard, but it's some people that we want the belt. We want to be the champions. So I just want to be the person that they say is the best, the best lawyer, the best firm, the best person, the person that they come to when they need help, the person that they come to when they need a fighter. And I want my kids to follow into my footsteps, and I want them to have a win big mentality. And win big mentality is, on the test, you can get a B, but an A is a win big. You racing, you can get a silver medal, but a gold medal is win big. And I want to strive to be the best. I want to strive to be someone that did everything they could to, be a champion for the people. And that's my legacy. I just want to be a champion for the people. I want to fight for the people. I want them to know that I was here and I did everything that I could, and we winning big.
Win big, being a fighter. Thank you for sharing your story.
All right,
Ross.
man.
Truly, your wisdom and your mission's incredible. To our listeners, don't forget to subscribe, share, and join us next time on Innovators and Litigators, where we continue to highlight the leaders shaping law and justice. We appreciate you. We'll see you soon.